Hello, welcome back to the circuit. My name is Mark and this is SlotTrackRacer. In today's episode I'm going to be giving you my top 10 tips of how to buy great scale exit cars from eBay. So anybody that's ever been given a scale exit set for their birthday or for Christmas will realise that very quickly the excitement of just two cars going down an oval of track is actually quite dull, and it's at this stage that they'll want to branch out and buy some new cars or some new track. And of course, to buy new cars most people will gravitate towards the auction site eBay, and believe me, there are some really great bargains on the eBay site. But there's also quite a few mistakes that you can make buying scale exit cars from eBay, and I'm guilty of this. In fact, my last 4 purchases from eBay have been decidedly underwhelming, let's say. So what I thought I'd do today is give you my top 10 tips of how to buy great scale exit cars from eBay, and believe me, nobody needs this advice better than me. So to get started, I think I'll come round and I'm going to tell you the story of why I thought it would be a good idea to make this video today. So the other night I was sitting in the living room, there was nothing on the telly, I got the laptop on my lap and I happened to just click onto eBay, which for me always seems to be a fatal mistake. Yeah, and lo and behold I ended up buying 2 cars. Now I'll show you the cars if anybody recognises these cars. I'm not going to cast any shade on the person that sold them. Everything I'm going to say today really is about my habits on eBay. It's not about the sellers at all. There's lots of great sellers out there, and the people that sold these cars were really great sellers. In fact, it was a registered charity. It was like, you know, a high street charity shop, but they actually have an eBay store as well, which helps them, you know, get rid of their higher value items. But it was me that saw the cars, and it was me that placed the bid. And the fact that the cars weren't quite what I actually wanted was entirely down to me. So let me show you what happened. So the cars were on the site, they'd been up there for about a week, and actually nobody had bid. So I was able to offer a really low bid and I got a really great price for the cars. And then I waited for them to come through the post, the excitement and the anticipation building. And then lo and behold, one Thursday morning the cars actually arrived. I got the box and I ripped it open, and my expectation and my happiness was all sky high. I was really pleased. So I got these cars dirt cheap, really happy with them. Took them out of the box and picked this one up. So it's a nice looking British touring car there, really lovely. And I picked it up, and the first thing I thought was, the wing mirrors feel a bit odd. And I have to think, is that actually a fault with the car, or is it a fault with the wing mirrors? And I don't think it is a fault with the car. I think the wing mirrors are sort of rubbery, but it does feel like they might fall off at any minute. And while I was doing that, I noticed that the back wheel here easily clicks in and out, in and out. So there's obviously some sort of fault inside the chassis of this car. So my happiness that was right up at this level sort of came down a notch, and then while I was looking at the car I thought, hold on, this is a super resistant car. But when I've seen it on the auction site with all these decals on, I thought this was a highly detailed car. But then I've noticed that it's got blacked out windows, which means that it's a super resistant car. So I had a little peer through the chassis in the gaps, and I realised, well, if it's super resistant, it's not going to have any lights fitted, which is a bit of a disappointment, because in my collection stage I've sort of gone past the toy stage and I'm now in the, you know, buying nice collectible car stage. So a super resistant car, I don't knock them, I think they're perfect, I've got loads and loads of them, but for me at this stage a super resistant car isn't cutting the mustard. So I thought, I'm actually quite disappointed with this one. So that happiness level comes down another notch. Well, let's have a look at the next car. So I bought 2. Again, lovely livery, lovely car, nice wheels and tyres with Michelin logos on. Is it Michelin? Yeah. And I was looking at this one and I thought, oh, hold on, this is a super resistant car as well. And then as I turned it on the back, I immediately see no rear spoiler, and there's actually a hole in the bodywork there because the rear light, the lens is actually missing out the body. So at that point I thought, oh, bloody hell, I've wasted my money, I've bought a load of crap. And so I'm not blaming the seller whatsoever, so if you do recognise them, or even if you was trying to bid against me in the auction, I'm not trying to cast any shade on anybody else. This is all my personal mistakes. But this can happen to you as well. You can buy something on eBay and you can be really happy because you've got the right price and you wait for it to arrive, and then when you get the box you get disappointment. So let's go through some top 10 tips to make sure that this never happens to you. Okay, here we go then, and this is my tip number 1. And oh, I feel like a real YouTuber now. Tip number 1. Here we go. So first tip is to know your seller. There's lots of sellers on eBay. Some are really good and 1 or 2 are pretty bad. But you need to know who you're buying from. So the most obvious thing is to go and check the feedback. Every user's got some feedback ratings. Just take a little minute just to read through them. Know about the different types of sellers. So there are traders out there, people whose sole job is to buy and sell scale electric cars. These guys are usually really knowledgeable. They know the slot car market in and out. They will offer you an after sales service. They've often got a bricks and mortar real shop or their own website where they sell things as well. The thing with traders is they know the exact prices of the cars, what they're worth, really worth. So you're not going to get absolute bargain basement prices, but what you are going to get is really fair prices. So you're going to get a fair price for a fair car, and their objective really is for you to come back to their shop and buy more things off them. So you know they're not going to rip you off. So the second type of sellers are private sellers. Now these might be slot car collectors who've got a massive collection and they're just cycling through their cars. You know, they've got one that they don't want anymore, or they've got one that's gone, they just don't like it, you know, they want to get rid of it. These guys will know the prices of the cars, so you're not going to mug them off by paying ridiculously cheap for their cars. You're going to play the going rate, but probably what you're going to find about them is they're going to be honest in their description. They're going to tell you if the car's got a fault or if there's a little bit missing, you know. And the other type of private seller is, well, there are some people on eBay that will just buy and sell any old thing. So, you know, what's this? Or I reckon I could put this on eBay. What do you reckon for that? £10? Yeah, those sort of people exist. And you'll spot those because when they do their descriptions, they probably don't know a lot about the slot cars. And their descriptions might say things like they'll hedge their bets, you know, untested. I'm not sure about how this car performs on a track because I haven't tried it myself. So you know, if you buy off those and it's got that sort of things in the description, and you got very little comeback. The other type of private seller is you come across them every now and then, and that's somebody that's actually breaking up a collection, and often this can be like through tragic circumstances. I don't know, divorce, financial difficulty, bereavement. Sometimes these people won't have a clue about what gems they're actually holding in their hand. They might have really valuable slot cards, but they know nothing about the hobby. You know, you don't want to rip these people off, do you really? Because they should get the going rate for their car. You hope that they've taken advice, but if they're doing it as an auction, normally the people that are bidding for the cars will normally push the value up to what it should be, and so they don't get too burnt. But you know, those people are out there, and you know, perhaps some people consider them the unicorn seller, got loads of valuable stuff, don't know what the value is. But as I say, there you go, that's my tip number 1, know who the seller is. Okay, so here's my tip number 2. Tip number 2 is to know about yourself. What's motivating you today to be on eBay trying to buy slot cars? If you know what you're looking for, then you're not going to be disappointed if you do find it, bingo, but you should be able to spot when you've found a car that isn't actually quite for you, and hopefully you'll resist the temptation to buy it. So know what you're looking for. What are you collecting? Formula 1 cars, British touring cars? Are you trying to collect pristine cars in boxes, or don't you mind ones that have got a few scratches on or a few bits missing? Do you want up-to-date cars, vintage cars? So just know your own targets before you go looking for them on eBay. This is a thing that I usually get wrong. I sort of just generally browse and get excited. Oh my god, that looks great. Don't pay attention and end up buying something that I didn't actually want. So know about yourself as the seller. So tip number 3 is all about urgency. So think for a minute just how scams work. In a scam, somebody's trying to make you to make a lightning fast decision before you've thought it through properly. So I tend to scam myself on eBay, because what I do is I go on late at night and I look for auctions for Scale X6 cars, and what I tend to do is flip the lid. I flip the sort, so the ones that are just about to finish are right at the top of the list, because then you haven't got to wait for ages for the auction to finish. You've just got a few minutes and you can get your bid in and you know whether you've won the car or not. But that's putting untold urgency on me that I don't need. You would do much better to research what car you want to buy and look for the auctions that are just starting, or the auctions that have got quite a few days to go, because that's going to give you time to do your research, and you might be able to realise whether you do actually want that car or not. So remove the urgency. There's also words in the advert that makes these cars seem urgent. So you'll see words like oh, this is a sought after vehicle, this is highly desirable, this vehicle's completely rare. These words are emotive words that got absolutely no position in fact. They're just weasel words that try and entice you into making that purchase. So try and stick to the facts about the car and miss out the subjective words. So tip number 3, avoid the urgency. So here we are then with tip number 4. So far we know who the seller is, we know who the buyer is and why we're buying. We know that we've had lots of time to make the decision, because we've got rid of all that urgency. We're ignoring all those words like, oh, this car's highly sought after, highly desirable. We're ignoring all that, we're just sticking to the facts. So the next tip number 4, is to read that description of the listing really carefully. Now let me tell you what I like to see. So in the title of the listing, what I always want to see is the Scale X6 C number, the catalogue number. And the reason why I want to see that is because that allows me to search other eBay listings for exactly that same car. So you're lining up to buy a car that's rare and sought after, but it's got quite a high price. If you then do another search on eBay using the catalogue number and you find other examples of that exact same car, if you look at those you can see what the real value of the car was, because you can see how much the other people paid for it. So you're looking at a car and it's £53 and you think you've got a bargain, but if you search the eBay listings with that catalogue number, look at completed sales, you'll find that somebody bought one of those last week for £25, and you might find that loads of these cars have sold for the same value, £25, so you're paying double the odds. So read the listing carefully and do a search, do a comparison, trying to find other cars that are exactly the same. When you do read the full description, which is also in the listing, you're going to find different styles. So if you're buying off a Scale X trader, what you're going to see is the bare minimum. You're just going to see facts about the car. In fact, sometimes all you might see is their policy around returns and their policy about postage. If you buy more than one item off them, they'll perhaps combine it. So you won't find much about the car, you'll just find the terms and conditions of the sale. And that's absolutely fine, because as I say, traders, know exactly what you're getting into, they know what they're selling, you know what you're buying, and it's quite a straightforward deal. With private sellers, if it's somebody that's selling a car out of their own collection, in that description they'll probably be tell you some quite accurate things about the car that they're selling. They might tell you that the spoiler's missing or that it needs new tyres. They might say it's got new blades and whatever, you know, new blades fitted. New blades really is a bit of a nothing really, because blades cost absolutely nothing and are really easy to change. But buyers will say this to, you know, to entice you in. If it's somebody that's a private seller that's just selling any old thing, they'll probably make quite a lot of vague claims in the item description that, you know, have got no basis in fact. This is the most beautiful car released in the last 5 years. But they probably will say untested, because they probably haven't even got a track to try it on. So they will say it's untested, and that sort of gives them a bit of a hedge in case you come back with a fault. Those sort of buyers will also use the AI tool, so you might be aware that eBay has got an AI tool that would write the description for you. So if you get a car like this, it'll say, the AI tool will write an item description that says something like, oh, the BMW is one of the highly sought after models in the Scale Electric range and can be lots of fun on the track, hours of enjoyment to be had. This car was made in a prestige factory in the south of England in the mid-90s and is highly regarded amongst competitors. It's bollocks, it was written by AI. So be aware of that sort of description. Of course, you're people that are breaking up a collection and they don't really know what they've got. Their item descriptions might be a bit flowery, and it, you know, might talk about what fun they used to have when they used to race a car rather than the car itself. But still, the tip is, read the title of the listing, try and search other cars of the same make and model to check the value, and also read the item description, because that's where you're going to find the nuggets about if the wing mirrors are missing. Okay, so that's that tip. So tip number 5 is about the different types of listing there are on eBay. So there's basically 3 listing types. The first type is an auction. So somebody will put the car on, they'll put a reserve price on it, and then they'll allow people to bid for it over 7 days. And then when you get to the end of that listing, it gets quite competitive. People try and buy, and whoever bids the highest gets the car. Some people know what the car's worth or what they're prepared to pay, and they will bid early, put a maximum ceiling on their bid. Some people are a bit sneaky and they come in right at the end of the auction and they see, you know, how far the car's got already, and they might just go £1 or £2 or £3 more than that. And these people are really annoying, because they snipe in and they win the auction right at the last minute. But that's the first type of auction. Then you get the buy it now type of auction. So basically here's a car, this is how much it's worth, and you can pay that any time and the car's yours. So buy it now. That listing, it tends to be favoured by traders, because traders know how much the car is. And then other listings are basically an auction, but they also allow you to make your best offer. So, you know, the car might be listed and people might be bidding and the price is going up slowly, but you can just come in and make an offer. You know, I'll tell you what, this car might not realise half that value when it gets to the end of the auction, but I'm prepared to give you £25 for it now. And the seller might accept that bid, that offer. The seller might accept that offer, is what I'm trying to say. So, and you know, don't be shy about making offers. As British people, I think we're a bit shy about bartering, aren't we? But if on the advert it says you can make an offer, well, make an offer. Who knows? The seller can only say yes or no, can't they? Nothing to be lost. So those are your 3 auction types, and depending on what you're trying to achieve in this particular transaction, you might only choose to look at listings at auctions, and you might choose to only look at listings that are buy it now. You know, sometimes if I definitely want the car, I'm not interested in an auction, because I don't want to wait 7 days and get pipped at the post at the last minute. I just want to buy it now, pay the money what it's worth. Okay, so tip number 6 is all about the small print in eBay, And you know, most financial transactions that we do are some sort of contact involved, isn't it? And this is true in eBay. So one thing to quickly check is whether the seller will accept any sort of returns. Of course, if an item arrives damaged or doesn't match the description that they gave to you, then you have got the eBay buyer protection, which means that they will automatically, you can get a refund on that. You have to claim within 30 days. And eBay do actually like you to try and resolve it with the seller first, so it can actually be quite a sort of protracted process to get your money back. But nevertheless, if it's arrived damaged or it doesn't match up to the description that they gave you, then you are entitled to your money back. Okay, so tip number 7, and this may seem obvious, but the thing to do is to remember that there's always, well, nearly always, a postage charge. So, you know, you see the car, it's £30, you're excited, you buy it for £30, and then you realise that there's a £5.95 postage charge on top. The Royal Mail getting a drink out of your money. If there's no postage charge on the listing, well, guess what? There is a postage charge, but it's been hidden in the price of the vehicle. The only way you can avoid postage charges is look for auctions that will allow for a collect in person. So you can filter your listings so you can see cars that will allow for collect in person. But the other thing that you need to do is be mindful of the radius. I don't want to buy a car and say, oh yeah, I'll collect that if I can, save on the postage, and then find out that it's in the Outer Hebrides or something. So be mindful of postage costs is tip number 7. Okay, so tip number 8 I think is a really good one, because it's one that I never do, and I can't understand when I think why I don't do this. And that's use the option in eBay to ask the seller a question. So if you was buying, you know, a really expensive real car, you'd want to talk to the salesman, wouldn't you? You want to ask questions about the miles per gallon, does it hold its value, all that sort of thing. If it's a washing machine that you're buying and it's costing a lot of money, you want to know, you know, has it got a really good spin cycle, is it economical? But we buy things blindly on eBay and we never think to ask the question, and the option's there, you know, you just have to click on it and type your question away. And if the seller's a good seller, then they will answer that question. It's good because really they're obliged to answer, well, they're going to either answer the question honestly, or they're going to answer the question vaguely. Or what they're not going to do, because it's quite difficult as human beings, well for some of us anyway, is tell you a damn right lie. And if they do tell you a damn right lie, then that seller is a charlatan, and you don't want to be buying slot cars from them. And also if they've told you a lie in a question, you know, you then on a firmer footing to return the car to them and ask for your money back. So yeah, it's really obvious, isn't it? And I don't do it, and one thing I'm going to take for this video is to start doing it myself. Ask the seller a question. Okay, so tip number 9, and this really is the big one now, and that's pay attention to the pictures. So most listings will actually say that the pictures on this listing form part of the description, so that means it's down to you as the buyer to look at those pictures really carefully. When I'm buying a car, I want to see 6 pictures. So if you look at a car here, I want to see that side, I want to see that side, I want to see the front, I want to see the back, I want to see the top, and I want to see the bottom. 6 pictures. So some people will just take a picture from the top of the car in the box, and that doesn't really tell you a lot because there's not enough, you can't see underneath the car, so you want all those 6 pictures. Other people also might just take a stock picture off the Scale Extra website or rip it somewhere else. So the car that you're looking at is not actually the one that you're buying, but do pay attention to this. If it's a trader that's selling a car and they're selling the car as new, then it's not so bad if they're just using a stock picture. But if you're buying a second-hand car, you want to see pictures of the real car. So those 6 pictures, let's see what we're going to look for. So let's get some examples, bear with me. So let me use this car as an example. This is my Mitsubishi Lancer. So somebody's put this on as a listing and we've got 6 pictures of it, and we can now have a look and see what's what. So from this side, the first thing I can see is this car should definitely have a spoiler, and I can actually see in real life that there's two holes in the body. So if I could use the catalogue number to get just a stock picture of this car when it was brand new, I'd realise that there was a spoiler missing. Most scale electric cars tend to have spoilers, you know, most racing cars, don't they? So if there's no spoiler there, you need to ask yourself, is that missing or was it not on the original model? This car's got no wing mirrors. Again, used in a stock picture, I would realise this car never came fitted with wing mirrors, so that's okay. If I looked at the top of the car, so again, that's a good way to look for no spoiler, no wing mirrors, which is fine on this car. If I use this car as an example, sorry, just for the picture of the roof, this one's got that little floppy aerial fitted, hasn't it? So when I'm looking at the car from this orientation, I can see if there's any ornamentation that should be on the roof that's missing. Also, this is a good one to look for scratches, because if this car's, go back to this one, if this car's, you know, come off the track and gone along on its roof, you might be able to see faint scratches on there. If we look at this car from the front, so when I bought this one I didn't spot it, and when I look at listings for this car I always find exactly the same problem. Can you see there that there's always front end damage on these Lancers? I don't know why, but there just always is. So when you're looking at the front of the car, check, is there any damage on the front? This one has got lights, so look, check that the glass is there. If you remember one of the cars that I bought, the lens was missing out of the light, so you're looking for glass in the lenses. Same when you're looking at the back, look for rear damage. Again, you can see if the spoiler's there, but look for the lenses and the lights if they should be there. You don't want to have a hole in the body like the one I bought recently. On the side, so this is where we can see the condition of the wheels really. So this car has got rally wheels that were quite popular, I think, in the 90s. What you will often find is these type of wheels discolour, they go brown, and that usually means that the plastic has gone brittle. When the plastic goes brittle, the wheel doesn't grip onto the axle properly, so as you're racing this car down the track, the wheel will just like pop off and roll into the distance. So when you're looking at these wheels on this car, you want nice bright white ones. All these things that might be wrong with the car, you can normally buy spare parts, but you know, you really want to be buying a car that you haven't got to invest a lot of time in searching for spare parts, you know, going off on tangents looking for little bits and pieces for it. When you look at the car underneath, so again we can see the condition of the tyres. Remember that tyres on old cars go brittle. When the tyres go brittle, they split, they crack, they come off. So I've bought a couple of Formula 1 cars where the tyres have been absolutely rock hard, and you touch them and they virtually turn to dust and fall off. So when you're looking at the car from the underneath, you're checking the condition of the tyres. Also have a look at the guide blade. So a modern scale electric guide blade is like this one. This one hasn't got very good brushes, but it's got that easy change disc that the blades are fitted to, so you can easily pop that off and pop a new one on. The old style of car will have guide blades a little bit like this. So changing the brushes, again, it's reasonably straightforward, but you need to be a little bit more dexterous. And of course, the guide blades on these cars were for the classic track, so the groove in the classic track was a little bit shallower than on the sports track. So any sort of vintage car with this sort of guide blade, probably it doesn't sit as deep in the slot, and therefore it's more prone to coming off. This one, you can see that I've converted it to digital myself, so you can just see the little chip there. You might be able to do that yourself, but looking at the car from all round, you might get an impression of if there's any space in this chassis to accept the F1 digital chip. Of course, a car like this, when you're looking underneath, you can see that this car is clearly a DPR car because it's got the door there. So yeah, all those 6 pictures of that car, you want to study them. It's also nice if they show the car in the box, because that shows that there is a box for the car. Maybe check that the name on the box matches the car that's inside it, and the condition of the box. So look for scratches in the perspex. Again, all things that can be rectified and replace when you get it yourself. But just pay attention to it, because you don't want to buy anything that's wrong, do you really? So there you are, that's that next tip. Pay attention to the pictures and look out particularly for spoilers, wing mirrors, split tyres, faded wheels that have gone brittle and are broken, and damage on the front or back, scratches in the paint. Okay, use the pictures. Okay, so here we are with tip number 10. We've got all the way to the end. Well, if you've stuck with me, you've got all the way to the end. So what's tip number 10 going to be about? Well, tip number 10 is about buying on eBay, because buying on eBay is good fun and there's lots of bargains out there, and you can really increase your collection quite quickly at reasonable prices. But I tell you what, there's one thing that you can't do on eBay. You can research the seller, you can research your motivation for buying it, you can make sure that you've got plenty of time to make a decision. You can do all the things that I've included in the other tips in this video. But there's one thing that you can't do, and that's this. You can't pick the car up and feel it, can you? All those tips that I've given you would never have told me that this car has a clicky wheel. I just wouldn't have found out till the car turned up in the post. So how can you avoid making that mistake? Well, I'll tell you, don't buy on eBay. Go to instead a swap meet. The slot car community has swap meets all over the country. There's two really good ones in Gaydon in Warwickshire. So one's coming up in May, they call it the Slot Car Festival. There's lots of tracks laid out, loads of traders, loads of cars, every car that you could possibly think about. But you can go along there, you can meet people, you can talk to experts, you can share opinions. But the thing that you can do is you can pick the car up and you can feel the goods before you buy it. So that's my recommendation. Try and get away from eBay and go to a swap meet. The other swap meet in Gaydon is in December. They call it the Winterfest. And there's another organisation called the NSCC, which stands for the National Slot Car or Scale Electric, I can't remember, Collectors Club. But anyway, they have swap meets events all over the country, all times of the year. So I know they're in Orpington sometimes, they're in Milton Keynes, they've been down on the south coast around Southampton, Cobham, I think they're in Leeds. So if you get on the their website, NSCC, just have a look where their swap meets are, just go along. And it's also, it's quite a solitary hobby, or it can be. It'll get you out and get you meeting and talking to people, which is great for all of us, isn't it? So yeah, go to a swap meet and give yourself a little break from eBay for a while. So there you are, 10 tips. So there we are, that's brought us to the end of this edition of SlotTrackRacer. So let's start summarising that. Where can we go with it? So yeah, I'm spouting verbal diarrhea, aren't I? But I think the tips are really helpful, and I do hope that you find them helpful as well. I'll try and remind myself of my own advice when I'm next looking on eBay, because as I said at the start of the video, I've made a couple of mistakes recently, and I think just applying these 10 tips would have helped me avoid those. So I do hope that you've liked the content and you've enjoyed the edition, and if you have, then maybe you'll click on the thumbs up button down below to show me that you liked it. As always, I'm really interested in your comments. Have you got any different tips to me, or do you think I'm saying things that are incorrect, or you've got better ideas than me? Do put something in the comments. I'm really interested to see them and see if I can learn anything different myself. So that's that. Of course, if it's the first time that you've found me and you haven't done so already, then please click on the subscribe button for me, because that really helps me build my channel and get me out there a little bit more, and I'll be able to make you much better and much more interesting content going forward into the future. So there you go, that's the end of the episode. I've quite enjoyed doing this one. I suddenly had this idea that I needed to make it, and it's taken a little while to make, but I've actually enjoyed it, so I hope you have as well. So that's it then, that's the end of this edition of SlotTrackRacer. Nothing else to say except for, well, if I don't see you through next week, I'm definitely going to see you around the circuit. Okay, so then bye for now.